Good morning, Wrestling Inc. Get up, get going. Happy Monday. It's me, your managing editor of WrestlingInc.com, Nick Hausman, joined here as I am every Monday to talk the pro wrestling news of the past 72 hours. It's our good friend, Michael Wiseman. Michael, welcome back to the Wrestling Inc. Daily.
Thank you, Nick. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to have an upgraded chair. I think this week, previously, if you didn't notice in the podcast, I would kind of sink down. And it's not just because Nick would control the camera to make me look inferior to him. It was the hydraulics in my chair. So it's a good Monday all the way around. I'm better prepared. And we had lots of great wrestling this weekend, so I'm in a good mood.
We did. We don't really have like a whole breakdown of what happened on Friday night because we have tons of review shows for that. But did you take everything in on Friday and Saturday, Michael? Did you have a chance to catch up on all the wrestling from this past weekend?
I had a chance to catch up. I didn't take it all in on Friday. I was celebrating a happy hour, my birthday, with some friends Friday night, so I had to catch up on Saturday. But I did enjoy it when I got around to watching it the rest of the weekend. I think it was really cool to have big shows on Friday night and then Saturday Night Dynamite. I like it, man. I got to say, I'm into the Saturday Night Wrestling show. It's a cool thing.
Yeah, you liked it. It's hard for me to get into wrestling on the weekends. I guess maybe just because I detach myself so much. But I thought Friday night was really cool, getting to flip back and forth a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. And the YouTube, the pre-show, I think all that stuff played incredibly well, even after the fact.
Yeah, no, and I had a chance to definitely check out Suzuki versus Danielson. I watched that one as it was airing on YouTube, and I don't know that it was the greatest Minoru Suzuki match that I've ever seen, but it was really just cool to watch. It was like a fun visual thing to see Danielson and Suzuki, on my television screen or on my computer screen, YouTube.
I was texting back and forth after I watched it later in the weekend with my good buddy Brian and talking about, hey, this was a nice match. What did you think about it? And I realized something. I think it was a great match, and I'm glad American audiences got to see that kind of match. Not a ton of bumps, right? It was just the hard-hitting punches back and forth, whatever else. It is cool that AEW is giving us exposure to lots of other wrestling styles that WWE has not been doing. But I think the parts of that match that I latched onto, I loved all of the grappling, the holds.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I love a Cody Ass Rhodes style 80s throwback match. I think they're great. But I really get into the grappling, the maneuvering, the MMA style back and forth. And I love that aspect and what Brian's bringing to AEW with that component of his repertoire.
Yeah, and another thing that really shined for me this past weekend from AEW, America Top Team with Dan Lambert is quickly becoming, I think, my favorite thing in professional wrestling. I mean, the combo. I mean, Junior Dos Santos is it's fun to watch him. He needs to learn to throw punches, right? Like he obviously will kill you if he punched you full on Junior Dos Santos style. But I can see him like, pulling his, and it doesn't seem imposing to me when Junior Dos Santos hits somebody in a pro wrestling ring right now.
It's tough to transition. I mean, he throws a punch. Yeah, you're going to get your block knocked off. But going from throwing real punches to pulling your punches has got to be a hard transition for me and you, right? I don't ever punch anybody. I could probably learn a pro wrestling punch easier than somebody who's used to putting their force behind it. And now I can't do the whole thing, right? That's got to be tough. It's a tough mindset to shift into.
But there was a lot to like. I mean, it was a real fun weekend. I thought SmackDown really delivered as well. There's a lot of good action on SmackDown. I think the Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns stuff continues to heat up. I love how Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, the two biggest, scariest men I think in the company, have like the most soap opera type storyline, like the love affair with Paul Heyman and what's Paul gonna do, Yeah. Hey, you should ask your buddy Paul because he's the one who told me. What?
It's great. It's building up some intrigue for a match that I think fans were worried we've seen before. I've complained. We've seen it time and time again. The Paul Heyman element, you said this early on, and I was like, I don't know if it adds that much, but you were right. The Paul Heyman element changes that dynamic, and I am not saying that Roman Reigns is going to lose, but Roman Reigns might lose come next Thursday.
This Thursday, isn't it? I think that this Thursday is Crown Jewel.
That's right, this Thursday. I'm sorry, I was still living in last week on Friday Night SmackDown, right? Also, can we just say Balor versus Sami Zayn, great match. I know Balor's going to win, so they can stop saying Prince Balor and they can say King Balor. They want to do that, but that was a fantastic opening to that show. Hell of a match.
Do not hinder Jinder. I think Jinder Mahal has a better chance of becoming king than a lot of people would probably think. And, that guy needs it. Like, Jinder Mahal needs something. I think King Jinder may not be off the table right now.
He does have the court, right? He's got his court, his gestures with him, I guess. It could be fun. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, I actually not anymore. After Crown Jewel, I think Veer is staying on Raw, and I think is it Jinder and Shanky heading to SmackDown?
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah,
Breaking them up.
Busted up Veer and Shanky drama. Well, we got a great show to get to here today. We are going to talk more about WWE and AEW in just a moment. Later on in the show, if for all of you listening in audio form, you're going to get to hear our good friend Brian Wool's SummerSlam weekend conversation with the one and only Drew McIntyre. Great way to start the week off. Drew McIntyre here on the Wrestling Inc. Daily. That's already up in video form if you want to go check it out on our Wrestling Inc. YouTube channel. And then at the end for everybody, we'll dive into the mailbag. We're going to look at what you thought was the best show of this past weekend. SmackDown, Rampage, Dynamite. Lot to take in. We will talk about it here in a little bit, but let's get to it. News you can use. News that will leave a bruise. And by the way, our comment section is open here today. You are more than welcome to jump in like Nicholas here, my plant friend, and say, good morning, Nick and Michael, Keith George. Welcome to Pink Daily, Pokemon Inc. Daily. We have
I could be down with that. Let's do it at some point.
Where's the Pokemon Go segment, Nick? I don't know if you caught it, Michael. I did talk quite a bit of Pokemon Go last week because of Zelina Vega's new Espeon tattoo. Just brought out the best in me, I guess. So
I missed it. So, but I mean, the problem I have is I'm not a Pokemon Go fan. I'm a Pokemon fan, right? So actually, relevant. 2 seconds.
Okay. Oh wait, Michael's going to get something Pokemon related, I'm guessing. Oh, Lucha Libre Pikachu. Where did you get him?
I got this from Nintendo New York. I think one of the last wrestling events I went to, and it was the Foo Fighters concert. But Lucha Pika does exist behind me in my office if you ever come visit.
Well, Lucha Pikachu does also exist in Pokemon Go. I have Lucha Pikachu in my Pokedex. I was going to show it off here.
Okay.
Yeah, Chaz Shaw, Pika, Dave in, Weissman, a real Pokemon fan. Lady Wiz, Libre, Pika, nice. Yeah, it's a real thing. Right now, you can catch a Pikachu with like a little hat on. Anyway, it's not important. It's not important. It's not important. I'm losing people here right now. This is not a Pokemon Go show. It's a pro wrestling show. All right. Let's get to it. Like I said, news you can use, news will leave a bruise. Join us in the comments section. We're going to start here with a report from WrestleTix. WWE has slashed ticket prices for their upcoming Raw at the UBS Arena in Long Island on November 29th. The report noted that WWE has distributed 3,130 tickets thus far, and that is after announcing an appearance from Universal Champion Roman Reigns. Prices for Raw are now lower than AEW ticket prices in most, if not all, seconds. Now, by the way, both WWE and AEW are going to debut at the UBS Arena, the future home of NHL's New York Islanders. Raw will be on the 29th. A few days later, on December 8th, AEW is going to run Dynamite and subsequent Rampage taping. Now, in the same arena where WWE has sold 3,130 tickets, Dynamite has distributed 7,639 tickets so far, close to selling out the venue. They have distributed nearly 80% of the allotted tickets. So double, same arena, week apart, week and a half apart. AEW is eating WWE's lunch here when it comes to live ticket sales. Anything that you want to glean from this, Michael?
I think it's interesting. The most interesting tidbit to me about all of this is they have been announcing an appearance from Roman Reigns, WWE Universal Champion. Currently, we'll see what happens come November 29th, but that's what they've been using to kind of pop ratings on Raw in recent weeks, right? Or a few weeks ago, they had the big thing where they had the triple threat match and the matchup with him and Bobby Lashley, blah, blah, blah. And they saw some results come back from that. Ratings went up those weeks, right? The Big E stuff got involved. Ratings went up those weeks. But, and it's the comment USA made a couple of weeks ago, you can only use gimmicks and surprises like that so often to pop ratings. And I think we see that showing up with their live shows as well. That announcement's cool. But if you've seen Roman Reigns or you've seen him on TV too much, that overexposure doesn't help you. And also, AEW, I think, has been killing it with the live venue, live event business in a way that going to a WWE show feels like TV, whereas AEW feels like a wrestling show, right? And I think fans respond to that differently.
Yeah, and I wonder, WWE has been so pot committed to the like family market, right? Like, hey, we're gonna get the kids, we're gonna do stuff like Lily, right? You're gonna have Nikki Ash, right? Almost superhero. We're gonna play to those kids. The kids are gonna bring the parents. we will make more money because we're selling 3 shirts instead of just 1 to some nerd in his basement, right? We're selling 3 to the mom, the dad, the kid, maybe the brother, the sister. I don't know at what point they change, if they're gonna change their model. I thought last week on Monday Night Raw, when they opened the show and they panned over what was obviously like an open area, like there was nobody sitting in the section they did their opening shot of Raw with. Like those kinds of visuals are really glaring. And I wonder at what point WWE is going to shift up their strategy to, I don't know, man. Like, do they need to? Is this a winning strategy for them? I mean, on paper, it would seem that they're losing momentum here. And this is another, example of that.
I think they're not as concerned about I mean, we know a while back they shifted away from live events being a big major revenue source for them because they weren't seeing returns on house shows and all those things, right? And if you see TV deals as being the big moneymaker for you, our overseas shows, we're going to take one of our biggest shows of the year, stacked card this week, and go do it in Saudi Arabia. You're a lot less concerned about selling tickets to American stateside. I think the challenge with that is exactly this. You're not going to be able to sell those tickets. AEW has a mystique about it that I can watch AEW on TV, but I see the crowd get into that. And I have FOMO, right? Oh, I could have gone to that show that's an hour from me, but look how much fun those fans are having. I want to go experience that. Whereas when you have a family-friendly crowd, it's not that jacked up. Kids get excited, but that doesn't incite missing out in me, right? And also keep in mind, we're still in a pandemic. Kids, vaccinations, all that stuff plays a part. Parents don't necessarily want to take their kids to big major outings when vaccinations are still not approved for everybody.
Yeah, and that's a very good point, right? Like I do think it is interesting with the AEW tickets moving as quickly as they did. Like there's obviously an appetite for live entertainment right now. I mean, I saw the Rolling Stones concert or whatever over the weekend, the photos from that, and like, tens of thousands of people going out to events. Like, but these are adults, right? That Rolling Stone crowd, that AEW crowd, like how much more hesitancy is there for families to go to live events right now? That's a really good point. I had not really thought about that, but I would imagine that there is a great more amount of trepidation for families wanting to go to an event as opposed to just a bunch of young dudes looking to go get drunk and smoke a little out back or something like that.
Well, yeah, it's anecdotal for me, but I have a lot of friends who have kids of, that 1 to 5 year old age. And it's like, hey, you want to go grab a drink outside after work? Yeah, but the kids, and it's not even just about, it's hard to get kids to wear those masks long terms. They're touching everything. They're just a little bit more concerned for your kids. I'll put my health at risk, right? But I'm not going to put my pet's health at risk. And I think parents, not to one-to-one parents to kids, pets, but they feel the same way, right? The kids don't know better. And I would much rather protect my kids in every way that I can. So interesting.
Yeah. And King Rail here jumping in saying, do you think it's because Survivor Series is also in the New York area and people would rather pay for that? Maybe. But like, look, I mean, AEW ran Chicago like 5 times in 3 weeks, and they sold out pretty much every show, if not like over delivered. I think the Rampage may not. Well, the Rampage with Punk did, but then the follow-up Rampage, I think maybe not was a sellout. But regardless, they sold a lot of tickets. You could run the same market multiple times if it's hot. And like the fact that like, yeah, you're in New York, which is like WWE's backyard, and they're getting like 2-to-1 pounced here by AEW. I mean, it's a statement, man. It's a real statement for this time.
Here's my question to you, Nick. If you were going to go to a show that you knew was going to be 40% promos, 60% wrestling, or if you were to go to a show that was going to be 75, 80% wrestling, which show are you going to pick?
Oh, dude, I mean, AEW, it's a no contest, man, for an adult. But for kids, like kids love that storytelling, right? Kids love those characters, the soap opera. Like when I was a kid, I wasn't exactly watching Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, and being like, wow, what work rate, right? That's that true. Iron Man match. Wow, I cannot believe how snug Bret was with those punches. Like that's not what as a child really intrigued me, right? It was like the build, the stories, like you're remembering the Mankind promos. It's more that than the matches, I feel like.
There's also one other big difference we're not really talking a lot about, which is entertainment for kids at home has become much more accessible in the last 2 years as well. Movies that used to debut in theaters only are now getting dual releases, right? And I think there's also a certain experience of parents, I'm not going to go to the movies and buy 5 tickets because I can go home and watch the movie on Disney Plus for $20, right? And when you're now competing with kids' attentions and cheaper alternatives, it's hard to convince parents to buy those tickets. Whereas young adults or that key demo up to, well, let's say 35, but even older, right? They're going to spend that money to go out and have that experience. It's what they want out of life.
Yeah. Interesting times here. The ticket sales, we'll keep our eye on that one. Also, over the weekend, it was noted that during an interview with Complex, Roman Reigns said that he would have no problem throwing CM Punk and the rest of the roster out of the club. He also said Punk had lost a step or two, really kind of going in on Punk. Now, former UFC heavyweight champion Junior Dos Santos, who we talked about at the top of the show, he took to social media to call out Reigns over his comments, saying, "Hey, Reigns, I heard your interview. Please send me the address of this club you're going to throw me and my little brothers out of at AEW." What we saw AJ Francis versus Young Bucks last week. This week is Junior Dos Santos, Roman Reigns. It was not like it, I feel like early on WWE was telling people to not get into it or whatever, kind of stay away. Is that done? Is this the new wave? Is this the way to get at it? Pick an opponent from the other side and just start the dance?
I guess maybe you feel a little bit more confident now that, right? Because beforehand, we didn't know what we were going up against, and we're going to have some confidence. But hey, listen, they got some momentum on their side. But now we can throw some haymakers because we beat them on Wednesday nights, right? We're still winning in key demos, yada yada yada. So it's interesting. I applaud Roman Reigns. Everything I've heard, Roman Reigns is a lifer for that company, and they've done very well by him. He is obviously literally the biggest dog in the game. He has that mystique. He has the look. He's great in the ring. I think it's interesting that he's calling out CM Punk, and Punk had a hell of a match Friday night. I would love to see these two go at it again. I think it would be phenomenal, but I don't blame him, right? It comes across different for me. Listen, Seth Rollins has done this as well. He works for WWE. He's going to throw some punches. But when Roman Reigns does it, it almost carries a little bit more oomph because he just has this badass mystique about him right now that is untouched, I think, maybe in all of professional wrestling.
Did you see the AJ Francis diss track that he released on the Young Bucks this past Friday?
I did not. No.
Dude, it's so good. It's really good. I was very impressed by what AJ did there. And, I know that the whole sneaker debate last week kind of got, there was a lot of eye rolls to it and things like that. But as I thought more about it, I think that there's probably a bigger conversation being had here that just was right outside my periphery. And it's a conversation of authenticity, right? Are you who you present yourself to be in the ring? Are the Young Bucks who they are in the ring, outside the ring? No, right? But AJ Francis saying, "I am who I am outside and inside." And, I look back on, the NWO and how, in retrospect, it's very obvious they were reappropriating culture that was not theirs to make the NWO work. Is this AJ Francis in real time calling out the Bucks for kind of doing the same thing? That's a really interesting conversation to me to have. And I kind of similarly here, Roman Reigns wants to play big, bad, tough guy. The authentic big, bad, tough guy, Junior Dos Santos, just called him out. And this whole, whoever you're calling out, whatever drama you're making, it's a conversation of authenticity now, I feel with people on each side calling each other out, for fake or whatever,
Here's the deal though, right? So with the Young Bucks, it's a little bit different because it's not about tough guy. It's about what do you actually do? Who are you outside of this ring? And they're playing heel. So with Roman Reigns is a legitimate badass. And I'm not saying that he is at the experience MMA level of somebody like Junior Dos Santos, or if they fought in that arena that he would win. But what I am saying is Roman Reigns did play in the NFL and even alluded to, if things hadn't held him back, I think he could have been even successful over there. But we're also talking about selling a product, just like in MMA, very similarly. The hype is where you get your money back on. And whoever win, lose, draw, people being on those cards that have helped hype this up, it's going to be better for everybody. So it's interesting. Throw haymakers back and forth with words, authenticity. Maybe Roman Reigns would actually get his ass kicked by Junior Dos Santos. But I don't know if it really matters because at the end of the day, they're trying to promote their business and it's best for the entirety of pro wrestling. The controversy, we've been missing controversy from pro wrestling in a real sense for a long time. And I think these little edges, authentic or not, challenging each other, are you really who you say you are? It makes it a much more fun product to engage with.
And then, going in on Punk there, is the CM Punk thing working? Is CM Punk is the luster war? I mean, I think my issue with Punk, and I know that they're taking it slow and they're rebuilding him and establishing all that, but there's no bite to me with this guy right now. There's no dancing partner. There's no story. It's just Punk goes out there, he gets to be Punk, he wrestles, and he goes backstage. Like, I don't know. I there's something missing right now with me and Punk and AEW.
It's interesting you say that because I feel like what happened was Daniel Bryan came in and kind of sucked the oxygen out of the room. Not that I think that Punk can't also exist there, but Daniel Bryan is also a babyface. Fans love him. He came out, debuted to a huge reaction, and he's had some great matches. We're all talking about Suzuki today. We're not talking about the banger of a match Punk had with Sydal, right? So I think it's fascinating that you feel that way and you're saying that, because I almost wonder if it's not, maybe we should turn Punk, right? We can't have two blue baby faces from WWE coming in doing the kind of same thing. We're having some dream matches. Punk obviously wants to put over some younger talent. But maybe let's put a little heat on him and see what happens. Could be interesting.
Yeah, lastly here, as we talk about these back and forths, to go back to the AJ Francis Young Bucks thing, I thought it was really interesting. They sent Max Caster out to like rap battle Top Dollar, like the Bucks kind of, I don't want to say hiding behind Max Caster. That seems very derisive. It was an interesting play to me that Max Caster was set out to try to offset Top Dollar with a rap promo of his own.
Yeah, but you talk about authenticity. How do you feel about Max Caster?
I mean, like, I'm very conflicted about Max Caster, right? You know, I think that some of his stuff, like a lot of stuff in AEW, honestly, like the way they talk about, you know, calling Paige Van Zandt a bitch, like what is Chris Jericho smoking right now? To think like that's an appropriate way to cut a promo in 2020, 2021. Right. So anyway,
well, the fact that AEW was reusing Chris Jericho's comments on Top Team from a few weeks ago about who's on top, and that played that back in the video package, even though it was controversial in itself. There's that point of authenticity that maybe you don't want to know everything about these guys either, and sometimes when they expose themselves too much, you learn a little bit too much about them.
So Michael Thomas Banshits, by the way, saying hello, Michael. Between the Rope rules. So
woo, thank you, buddy. I have not had a Between the Rope shout out in quite some time. Me and Brian Fritz, we've talked about doing something again together. We talk all the time. We hang out all the time, but we haven't done it. So maybe we will. Thank you.
All right. Well, hey, a couple more news items here before we get to Drew McIntyre in the mailbag. So as we're talking about AEW, it appears there was significance behind AEW booking Ty Conti versus Santana Garrett as the opener on Friday's buy-in pre-show for Rampage, which aired on YouTube head-to-head with WWE Supersize SmackDown. So the November 6, 2019 edition of NXT on USA featured Conti defeating Garrett in a match that received criticism over some of their in-ring work. Now, this bout was the first ever to win a quarter for NXT in the Wednesday Night War. It did 813,000 viewers. AEW did 809,000 for Private Party versus Dark Order. Now, speculation is that AEW booking Conti versus Garrett head-to-head with SmackDown for the first time was not a coincidence. This was just Garrett's second match for AEW, and the Rampage pre-show the match between Conti and Garrett likely did not beat SmackDown, but it could have been a case of AEW wanting to show how Conti and Garrett have improved since then to put Conti over and perhaps put a spotlight on an inside joke. Thoughts? Anything?
I love this tidbit, and I'm glad you pulled it out for the run-to today, Nick, because obviously, in my mind, Tony Khan is a smart dude, right? He doesn't do some of these things haphazardly. He is very intentional about who he books and when he books them and where, right? Going back and doing this little inside jab and saying, yes, look, we have made this better. We are going back at you with your own thing you brought to us. I think it's genius, and it's subtle, and it's funny. But also it's a good way to say we're building up talent here and we have opportunities for younger talent. I think it's sending a message to NXT, right? That we have chances for you and we're going to make you better than you were before, which is what a lot of this talent wants. So I don't think it's a coincidence at all. And I also think it takes some cojones to say we're going to do this buy-in and we're going to open up with this, even though it's not our hottest match. I think that's cool.
Yeah. The YouTube did, I think it peaked out, the buy-in did at like 98,000 viewers, I think it was, which is good, right? Definitely not like hundreds of thousands like SmackDown did. We got the overnights in, right, over the weekend that we put up where it looks like SmackDown did like 750 something. Rampage did like 596 or whatever. So it appears, we don't have the final numbers yet, that SmackDown obviously beat Rampage on Friday night, but still, if it's like 200,000 viewers, that's like way closer than I think WWE would like that to be between their premier product and this upstart AEW promotion that's in the wings.
I just went back and checked. It does look like right now the YouTube streams are looking at just under 1 million views for the buy-in. And fans, I'm sure, treat YouTube a little bit differently. Like, I can watch it live, or I can always go back and watch it immediately afterwards. It's much easier to do that on YouTube than it is on Fox. So maybe you have that trade-off there. But also, kudos to AEW. They had a stacked show Friday night. I think you talk about that main event. They had been building to that 3-on-3 match for quite some time. This upcoming Friday, they're building more stuff for next Friday's show. SmackDown opens up and says, hey, we're doing a contract signing. And it just sends the message of more of the same. Even though Brock Lesnar was there, we had comments from Seth Rollins, Seth Rollins and Edge, right? But AEW is saying we're going to give you something new. So if it is close, I think it's a testament to the smart ingeniousness of what Tony Khan's pulling together there.
All right, lastly here, and what was, I think, the most trafficked item of the weekend, I think this broke on Friday too, Ric Flair has been announced as an honorary host for a Donald Trump fundraising event in Florida for former Heisman Trophy winner Herschel Walker's Senate campaign. Walker, running on the Republican ticket, hopes to take on incumbent Georgia Senator Raphael Warnock in November 2022. I just can't fathom. I mean, unless Rick is just like, I've found the group of people that are willing to embrace me and move on, and I'm just going to play real hard into it. But if you were trying to rehab your image right now and distance yourself from, sexual assault allegations and genuinely just being kind of a skeezy piece of shit, I don't know that playing a Donald Trump rally is the way to do that, Michael. I don't know about you.
All I will say, whenever you're in a dark place, as I'm sure Ric Flair was after the Dark Side of the Ring accusations and the comments that came out afterwards, if somebody reaches out to you and says, hey, it's okay, you're being cancel cultured because people are too sensitive right now, we understand it's not what it seems to be for you, I can see why that olive branch, even if it's from what I would consider kind of the skeezy side of things, being handed to you, you might reach out and accept it. And I think maybe that's what we see here is Ric Flair making a very bad decision because he was in a very bad place. And somebody's like, hey, we're okay with it. We know it's not you. It's the culture today. And Ric Flair's like, this resonates with me. It's not me. It is them. And he accepts this. But I think it's a terrible call. And I think it's going to hurt his chances at rehabbing with the professional wrestling audience at home.
All right, Michael, I want to thank you for joining me at the top of the show, talk all the news today. Hey, Brian, thank you very much for going out and getting that great interview with Drew McIntyre SummerSlam weekend. That is our last SummerSlam weekend conversation that we've blown through all of them. So now back to the news at hand as we get new interviews into our coffers, including tomorrow when I'll be back with Chris Van Vliet as we're going to talk about the world of professional wrestling in this past Friday night skirmish, which will bring us into the Wrestling Inc. Daily mailbag today at Wink Daily, WINC Daily. That's the account to follow. We're 1,305 followers right now. Give us a follow. That'll put us to 1,306. Not positive we're going to get to 1,666 by Halloween. But, hey, you never know. You don't try. You never fail. So try. Go give us a follow. All right. So today's mailbag question, pretty straightforward. What do you think was the best pro wrestling show this past weekend? Was it SmackDown, Rampage, Dynamite, something else? We had over 350 votes here, and a dead even tie, Michael. Dead even. 42% SmackDown, 42% Dynamite, 13.4 Rampage, and 2.5 for something else. What did you think was the best show this weekend?
Man, I was torn. There was a lot of good stuff going on. I can see why it's split. I loved the buy-in. I loved Rampage. I loved it all. So I'm going to go Dynamite just because Saturday Night Dynamite, a lot of fun way to have a good evening on a weekend.
Yeah, I think that Dynamite was a good bit. I mean, Dynamite SmackDown. What's weird, though, to me is like Rampage had CM Punk, Matt Sydal. It had Brian Danielson versus Minoru Suzuki. You had the women's match that we just said that had like some historical significance. Only 13.4%, though. I early on when Rampage launched, I was like, guys, this is gonna be really hard. This is a hard time slot, right? Like they're throwing some stuff out there early, Punk coming back and all that, and you're gonna get some attention, but really hard to keep momentum at that time slot. I know they've overachieved in a lot of ways in that time slot, but It's going to be interesting to see how many people hang on for Rampage here now. I don't know what that Friday night, you want to go out and do stuff,
Yeah, but it's 10 o'clock. I don't know. Maybe I'm an old fogey now that I'm in my mid-30s. But you go out and you have a good time and you come home by 10 and watch some wrestling when you get home. That's what I typically do. Go out for dinner, go out for drinks, catch SmackDown the next day. But we'll see.
Yeah. Buscat here, the buy-in for Rampage is amazing. Then we don't have a whole lot of more write-ins here. Just a lot of votes. People speaking with their votes today, which is totally fine. So that'll bring us to the end of the show here today. Michael, thank you for joining me. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow. I'm going to be joined by, of course, on Tuesday by EJ Cameron from Second City, Chicago. And like I said, Chris Van Vliet going to be in the house talking pro wrestling. If you like the Wrestling Inc. Daily, support WrestlingInc.com or on all your socials. And, of course, at night after the big shows, including this Thursday, which I guess won't be at night, but after Crown Jewel on Thursday, we're going to do a post show. So go tune into that. Enjoy the Wrestling Inc. Podcast there. And that's it for me. Michael, anything you want to plug, promote, put over here to wrap up the show today?
No, just love the shout outs. By the way, yes, it is Pikachu. Lucha Pikachu, and I am, somebody called it out, drinking out of my Pikachu mug, ironically, today. So it's all Pokemon all the time here on the Wrestling Geek Daily. If you enjoy this conversation, you want more geek talk outside of wrestling, inside of wrestling, obviously I'm a big fan. I am on Twitter at The Real Wiseman, and I got some stuff behind the scenes, non-wrestling related I'm working on. So give me a follow if you are into anything else of that sort.
Yeah, I'm trying to find my Lucha Libre Pikachu right now, but I have so many Pikachus and so many. Oh, here we go. I think I got him. Yep, there it is. Huh? See, Michael, you got to get in on Pokemon Go. You can.
I got to get in.
You can go get your own. Yeah, look at that. We are very cool people. We are very cool. Very cool. All right, everybody. I'm at Nick_Hausman. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll talk to you tomorrow. And remember, if you winked, you didn't miss it.